Welcome to 3P's podcast. I am Lisa.
I'm Zarah. No, he's meant to be Sonny.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay,
Sonny.
let's try that again.
Try it again. Right, let me start. Welcome to 3P's podcast. I'm your host, Sonny Morley from the UK, and this is my co-host,
Lisa Ingalls from the US. And the third person making up our pod today is Zarah from the UK. Hello,
Hi,
Zarah. I feel like I'm outnumbered today.
Yeah, UK.
Oh yeah, you've got the British are on you today.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes, we all speak English, but I have no idea what Sonny's saying. So I might do a times out if I don't know.
No, that's a Norfolk thing. That's a Norfolk thing. Don't
well,
worry.
was it last week she learned what a quid was? She didn't know what a quid was.
But then I was telling my friends about it and it came out, do you know what a squid is?
No, we say that though.
Yeah, a couple of squid.
So yeah, sometimes we keep saying we're going to do a podcast about this, our words meaning like such different things. So
yeah.
Anyway, so Zarah, like she said, is coming to us from the UK, and she has a really tough story to talk about. Just a quick overview, and then Zarah, you can get into your story. She was in a very abusive relationship and got out of that and got addicted, and thank God turned her life around, and she's here with us today to share her story, which thank God you are, because there's not a lot of people that can say they have, they're able to share this. So
yeah, of course.
Congratulations before we start.
Thank you.
And thank you for being on this and sharing this difficult story with us. So
you're more than welcome.
If you want to start, then we can just ask questions and
Yeah. All right. So I won't sort of begin where the relationship was because it's kind of irrelevant. It all starts where the relationship was ending.
Okay.
So the week as this relationship was ending, the guy that I was married to tried to kill me. Like quite literally tried to kill me, and he fractured my breastplate, and that was the day that I sort of said enough is enough. And I ran. That is exactly what I did. I ran, and I got the police involved, and luckily enough, he was taken away and was supposed to do so many years in prison, but because I was so scared, I never went to the court case. And he actually walked free, which is a little bit sad. But that is where...
Even that straight away is a bullet point. There's so many people that do so many things wrong and they get away with it because they've got that fear factor against somebody from like you couldn't turn up to court because you're terrified of him. And the fact that you're willing to just run out of your house and leave everything behind is another step, like to show that person is obviously not a safe person to be around. And like, if you're not going to turn up to court, surely the police should see that as another fear factor and just look into it a bit deeper.
That's a very good point, to be honest, Sonny, because that was one of the things I said to the police back then was, can you not understand where I'm coming from? He tried to kill me. You're telling me that, he is a very, very violent, dangerous man. And, it, transpired that he had this massive record anyway that I had no idea about.
Wow.
And yet still nothing was done. So...
Yeah. And they wanted to go sit in a room with him. You know what I mean? That's
literally they wanted me to sit in front of him.
Like he busted your breastplate, so you had evidence that he attacked you.
Yeah.
So, that was the icing on the cake. He'd done various things to me for 3 years.
So that's what I was going to ask. Had this been going on? Okay.
Yeah, a very long time. So yeah, I mean, and that's where. That's sort of because he'd segregated me from everyone, like my family, my friends. He would constantly go on about how nobody's there for you. Look how no one's here for you. So once I'd sort of got rid of him, and I did get in contact with friends, they didn't want to talk to me anyway. They were like, we told you, you shouldn't have been there. You know, nobody was supportive whatsoever. It was very, very, very bizarre. And
because
so
that's, in a way, that's them being selfish then, because they then want you to chase them, but you're the one who's in need. So that's kind of, in a friend's perspective, they're like, well, you dropped us at a drop of a hat, but then they've got to see it as everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has to make a decision. You picked family over friends, not through the right choice, obviously, by being manipulated and bullied. And if they can't see that, they're them sort of friends you shouldn't even be. After that one phone call, if they ain't jumped in their car and come to you to support you, you think, I'm just going to delete your number. In my
that's
brain,
exactly, that's exactly what I did. You know, my logic sort of said, you know, well, fuck you then. If you know, and I thought, I need to get some new friends.
That makes you feel lonely.
If they were good friends, no matter how much time has passed, they would have been there for you. Yeah,
exactly.
So, okay.
So I sort of, you know, moving on from that, I sort of found myself looking for new friends. And I you know, I can't even remember how I met these people. It's so strange. It was just like, no, I do remember. I had this person, because I've always been into music and I've always done music. And I had this guy get in touch with me, and he said, oh, you know, do you still sing? Because I was singing with my ex-partner, but he wouldn't allow me to go any further. I would record stuff and he'd put it out there, but I wasn't actually allowed to speak to anyone. So when he'd finally gone, this one guy sort of obviously, you know, he kind of saw a talent in me and said, you know, do you still do this and whatever? And I said, yeah, I do. And then for some reason, the conversation went on to, oh, well, what are you doing this weekend? Because it was a bank holiday. And I said, well, I'm not doing anything. And this person had a big sound system, and he said, oh, well, how do you fancy, you know, I'll bring my sound system over and a few friends, and we'll have a party at your house. And I was like, yeah, I haven't had a party in years, you know, and I need to make some new friends. Everything was just like bing, 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 bing. Yeah, let's do it, sort of thing. So I literally met just a bunch of ravers in one day, and you know, this party just it got bigger, but it ended up in the newspaper. Because they shut the road down, and there were people on boats, because I lived on Wensum River at the time, and people on boats were coming down and joining this party. So we ended up with like 300 people outside my house.
When you go big, you go big, right?
Where was my invite?
Apparently, you know,
I live in Norwich.
Wow.
You know, so and you know, and all these people turned up, and absolutely everyone was on this drug, MDMA. You call it Molly in America. Now I don't personally touch that stuff whatsoever, but everyone was like, yeah, go on, have some. I was like, no. And I was still sort of like sticking to my guns, and I just had a few drinks, and I was so overwhelmed with the fact that I was allowed to do this. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, expecting my ex to turn up, you know. Yeah, do you know, I was waiting to be told off. So anyway, this party finally dissipated at stupid o'clock in the morning, but by this time I'd met all these people, and they were like, everybody's off their faces on drugs, and they're like, oh, you're great, let's meet up again. I'm like, okay.
Well, you're thinking freedom. I have my freedom.
Yeah.
So you're able to talk to who you want and do what you like without being eyeballed to feel like you have to just be quiet. Yeah. So you went from one extreme to the other. It was like, this is what life is. This is what life is.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, I ended up sort of like getting in with this group of girls at the time, and they were really, really into their pills. And about sort of, I think it was like 3 parties in from meeting these people, I soon learned why my brain always said, do not take MDMA. I turned out to be highly allergic to it, and I was sort of borderline in having a heart attack and was rushed into hospital. All my body shut down. It was very, very quick. My whole body shut down, and I was really honest with the hospital, and I told them what had happened, and they were like, you are highly allergic to this drug, don't ever go near it again, sort of thing. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And then but the buzz that I got from even, you know, just because it you know, I had a good hour on this drug where it was just euphoric. Everything was great. I felt amazing. And I was like, where can I get that high from without taking that drug?
Yeah.
Not great. Not great. So this is where the story gets fucking mad. I then rang a person I hadn't spoke to in years because someone had turned around to me and said, "Oh, have you ever tried cocaine?" And I was like, no, I don't think I have. And they were like, "Oh, well," and they sold it to me on the whole, "Oh, well, you know, the buzz is all right and you're only up for half an hour and then you're down and then 9 days is out your system, etc." And I'm like, really? Like, so freaking naive. Like, what the fuck? But there was, in the back of my head, I was like, nah, that can't be right. You know, there was that niggling bit that was going, that's not right, that's not right. But then I was like, well, let's try this drug. And I was like, has it got any MDMA in it? You know, like, they're like, no. So I rang this, this is crazy. I rang this person and I said, hi, mate. I know that, you know, you've done like some coke, haven't you? And he's like, yeah. And I said, can you get some coke? And he's like, yeah. I said, when do you want it? I said, well, for Friday, because this is the other thing as well. I do have a child.
Yeah.
And at the time, she was like, I don't know, between 6 and 8. But I never, ever partied around my kid. Never. So I always made sure, because me and her dad are still very, very good, amazing father, amazing geezer. And I would always make sure that once she was gone, she would always leave from after school with him. That my party session would at least start at least a minimum of 4 hours after she'd gone, because just in case, you know, like, oh, I've got to bring her back, something's happened.
Yeah, something.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you.
I don't know why I did that, but I did.
So she is the daughter between you and the ex-husband that attacked you?
No.
Oh, okay.
It is what it is. I had a child very, very young. You know, I was like, I was 17, but so I missed out on a lot of my life as well. And I think a lot of that is where this came from as well.
Yeah, you needed that rush,
I'd never gone out. I didn't go clubbing. I didn't go on girls' holidays. As soon as I had my kid, I was aware that is her life now, not mine. You know, that it's not about me anymore. So I gave up so much. And then when I finally got my freedom and, you know, my daughter was going away, it was like, what do I do with the time? You know, and so anyway, back to how I first ended up on cocaine. I rang this guy and I said, can you get me some coke, please? And he's like, yeah, when do you want it? I said, for Friday. And this is where the story gets really fucked up. So I've turned up at this guy's house to pick up what I thought would be a gram of cocaine. I walk into the house with my new little girlfriend next to me, and the guy pulls out an ounce of cocaine. A fucking big ball of cocaine, puts it on the table and goes, I want my money in a week. I am not shitting you. That is how it went down. And I sort of looked at him and went, I only wanted a gram.
And how much money was that?
Well, he said he wanted £980.
What, for an
in
ounce?
A week. For an ounce.
I'd have took that.
Wait. Listen, I took it.
Yeah.
I fucking took it. And I trebled my money in a fucking week.
You could have sold that on straight away to someone for 1600.
Yeah, but I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone, Sonny. What the fuck?
You just met 300 people.
I did. I swear to God. I was so adamant on getting rid of this stuff because I did not want it around me, you know, like what the fuck is going on? It was mind blowing how fast this snowballed.
Yeah, but that was so strange that he's trusted you to do that, or kind of like entrapment because he knows you're going to fuck up, and then he's got you.
Yeah, that's what he thought. But in I'm not joking. In 3 days, I got rid of that shit. 3 fucking days. Soon, because I didn't know about cutting things up. You know, this stuff was like blow your fucking brains off, like something out of a fucking movie. I'm not kidding you.
This is another thing that the bloke didn't tell you, is that cocaine's probably one of the most highly addictive drugs out there, that you can like get so depressed on it, and there's so many things that it's cut with that you don't even know that you may even been allergic to, and like there's half the time you're sniffing 20% cocaine, 80% cut product.
Well, now
Exactly.
yeah,
it was absolutely mind-blowing. But I mean, like I say, I wanted to get rid of it so far. So, you know, literally that night, I've immediately gone to another person, that my new friend knew, and was like, "Can I borrow your scales? I don't know what I'm fucking doing." And I'm sat there like, and I mean, there were just so many rats. It was ridiculous. There was just loads of them. Do you know what I'm saying? It was stupid.
I don't know, but I'm sure
you know. Yeah, well, he knows. So anyway, and I've ended up. So I've gone to this one party this one night, and I sold like 3/4 of what I had. Like I only took out so much, but God knows how I didn't get arrested.
Yeah.
Like I would have gone to prison for a very long time.
I did
and I'm still
for a long time. I did get
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah,
I am so lucky. I'm telling you, so lucky. So I've got rid of all this stuff in one night, and then I've gone, and my mate's gone, and we're both buzzing our tits off as well. And at this time, bear in mind, I have only taken 0.5 gram because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you don't know what your limit is or
my
what,
tits off. So I've got like, we're sat there in my lounge, like, that's a lot of money. I need to get rid of all this now. And they were like, "Oh, Pam's house is on tomorrow night at the UEA." I'm like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Well, fuck me. Like I ended up selling basically everything that night, and like people would just kept coming back because I also didn't realize about money and whatever else. So to get rid of it quicker, I was like 40 quid, 40 quid, 40 quid.
Well, I know what that means.
That's why people were coming back.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, and I mean, God, I saw, 4 or 5, 6, 7 people fucking at this for, I don't know, God knows how many times the same night. They're like, "Oh, that stuff's brilliant." I'm like,
Now, you were obviously high from it. Were you just thinking like this was the best high?
Yeah, because this is the other thing I also learned about Coke. Like that first high you ever get, you are always chasing it. You will never get that.
You never get that same buzz again.
No, and I think coupled with the fact of the adrenaline running through my body, with having this mass amount of drugs that I shouldn't have, also a time limit that I had to get rid of it. There was no way it could have stayed in my house. What the fuck? I've got a kid coming home. What am I going to do? Sort of thing. So I mean,
back to that stressful
all of
life.
that. But at the same time, go on. Sorry.
No, you're right. Really, you should have just gone in there, got a gram, enjoyed it with one of your girlfriends, and then felt shit for a day, and then carried on.
And moved on. Right.
New world, new height. You're the new supplier of knowledge.
It got ridiculous. I am not kidding. So by the time Monday came around, and I've gone and met this geezer because he's rang me up. He's like, "Oh, I need my money now." I went, "Oh, funnily enough, I've got it." And his face, I'll never forget that. He was like, do you want some more? And I was like, "No." I said no. Do you know? Immediately, I sort of said, "No, I don't. I've got a kid. I can't be taking drugs into my house. That can't happen," sort of thing. But then, like, the next party mission was like a few weeks later, and the same thing happened again.
Yeah.
And but then it all happened so quickly. And then I met my next partner of 10 years, and he was well into selling drugs. Like he introduced me to a lot of shady people I never should have been introduced to. But he also introduced me as, "Oh, this is Zarah. She gets banging coke, rah, rah, rah." I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Put more pressure on you.
Well, then, but this is it. Like, I felt like I had to kind of almost stand up for myself and be, I am that strong person. I am this face. Yeah. He gave me a mask and I fucking wore it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Basically, he almost like turned you into a dealer.
Well, she done well
I
for herself.
can't. This is the thing. I can't blame anyone because I am in control of my own future and, you know, my own actions and whatever else. But I didn't say no, and I fell head over heels for this guy. It was ridiculous.
I think that's what that is.
look at
That high of dating, that red flag, because you live that high life and you don't have no stresses or worries because a lot of them deal with a lot of the stuff. There's cash going everywhere. You're going to all your favourite restaurants and doing everything, living a high lifestyle. And you've gone from being trapped in a room to not being able to wear what you want to wear and probably get told you can't wear makeup to then going out and you want it to spoil you and show you off. You're never going to stop that. You're going to just keep going up. You're never going down. Once that you keep flying, you're meeting new friends, you're just being you. And you've probably lost who you actually were before you even met the last geezer because you're now this whole new person who's, like you say, you got that mask on and you can be whoever you want behind that and everybody love you for it. So why would you stop being that person?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was, to be honest, like, you know, there was Zarah, you're amazing, you're this, and yeah, I thrived on that because for 3 years I was told I was nothing, I was crap, I was, you know, just the worst of the worst, and nobody would ever want me, nobody would ever want to be around me, you know, and like it was such a massive transition in such a fast amount of time. And you know, like and then I found myself at every single situation where my daughter was away, because I ended up, like, just fast forward a year into that, I ended up passing over what I was doing to the guy I was actually going out with and said, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I don't want to be the face. So I allowed him to do it, and he took it to his house and I gave him all my links. But you know, the deal was you have to feed my addiction.
Yeah.
Which is a bit sad, but so technically, I never actually spent a penny on drugs, which is even more fucking bizarre.
Yeah, because a lot of people would love that situation because a lot of people sell it just to feed their habit.
Yeah,
they get trapped in the moment and they end up doing too
and then
much
they start selling.
They lose their house, they lose everything.
Yeah, I know, right? I gained so much. It was so crazy. It was fucking crazy. I went from having nothing in my house to having everything, to completely renovating the place on my own. And to, you know, having this huge wardrobe and all these shoes and these clothes and everything my daughter wanted. I had the lot. And then that bit, because I knew it was so dangerous that if I did get caught, that I would go to prison, I'm going to lose my kid, you know, like, so like I say, I passed that on to him, but the addiction didn't go away.
Yeah, you end up, like you say, because you're waiting for him to call you to say, yeah, I've had 20 of your customers call me, I've got a couple of tickets for you, drop them off. And when you're in that situation, you're never going to say no, because
you never say no.
You're done well to even pass that on just for your personal use, because you could have sold that phone for probably 10 grand, knowing how much money that would earn.
Oh, I know that now.
Yeah. Yeah, but at least right there and
that then, motherfucker must have been smiling his ass off when I went,
he said, I'll take it off you, babe.
Oh, it was like that. It's like, oh yes, I'll do that for you to keep you out of trouble.
And so you then went a year like that, right? With him, and then him feeding your addiction.
Oh, no. Like, okay, so I went a year sort of selling it, and then I passed over. But then my addiction continued for the next 6
years.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if that was free, it's hard to get away from a freebie.
It was free. It was all free.
Yeah.
So, like,
and your friends, you're then amongst friends who will always say, what are you doing the weekend? We're doing this. You ring him up and say, yeah, I'll drop you some off. And you're back to feeling on top of the world again.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, also, like, bear in mind at this time, I'd also landed a very successful singing career.
Wow.
So, and I never, ever did drugs on stage. I never drank on stage. You know, the photos of people off their face look horrendous, and I'm aware of that. And I was aware of that. So I never did it, but everyone around me would do it. And then the party would end up back at my house.
Yeah.
So and not being funny, so I could get off my face until 6 o'clock in the bloody morning. You know, like after I'd closed down, like the gigs I'd put on or the show I'd been at, and I've come back, and whatever, like, then it was like, it was my time. I have no idea why I had such, you know, an understanding of, right, don't do drugs then, but you can do drugs now. And like, it was a controlled addiction in my mind, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
But at
Because
least you were
all I
still
could think,
prioritising. You're prioritising your work
yeah,
past your addiction, which is a bold statement, especially when everyone around you is off their nut and you think, oh, they must be loving life right now, and I would love
yeah,
to do that now, but you're still held back, so you still had some control.
That's
yeah,
what I'm
so,
saying.
yeah,
So you still felt like, oh, maybe it's not a problem because I can stop to do a show. I can stop the
yes,
weekends I have my
yes,
daughter.
yes.
This isn't a problem. Yeah.
That's exactly how I saw it. I don't have a problem. I can stop whenever I want.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. Not
Yeah.
really. That's
You're just
not
waiting for that
really.
party, waiting for
I
that party
was.
to get back to yours to then go, is the show over? I've got another show to go to.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it went down. And, you know, like that
And,
went on, like I say, for sort of 6 years.
and at any
Um,
point in this 6 years, did your daughter's husband know you were on drugs?
my daughter's father.
Yeah, daughter's father,
Yeah.
daughter's
Yeah. No, see, this is a good thing about my daughter's father, is I never lied to him about absolutely anything. I think this is why we are still good friends to this day, because I told him everything that ever went on. Now,
Yeah.
what sort of ended my continuous drug taking was when my ex-partner that I was with actually ended up going to prison for various things that he'd done. And like, it was almost like the tap had been turned off. And it was like, I rang my daughter's father and I sort of said, look, you need to keep hold of her. Because if you don't, social services are going to be involved because of what he's done in, you know, around me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we sort of joined forces on that.
I'm like stressed out with all of this even happening. Like, you're trying to manage keeping this a secret, having like your daughter, like that's a lot of shit to go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tap, like you say, the tap that was feeding you is now turned off, and then your daughter's not there, so you've got even more opportunity to keep getting on it because you ain't got to stop because your daughter's not around. But it's just like crazy, isn't it?
Well, at that point, it was like, you know, I was also managing a nightclub on Prince of Wales at the time, and I sort of had sort of fallen in with another crowd that you know, they were just drinking all the time. So I kind of then, you know, replaced one addiction with another. So I was just drinking, and because that's legal, I kind of like was like, oh, that's okay, because I'm just drinking. And then like people would turn up now and again with like some coke or whatever, and yeah, I'd do it with them, but I still wasn't going out of my way to buy it. So I still felt like, oh, that's okay, you know.
Yeah.
Which is a bit stupid. And then sort of, I mean, that was sort of on and off for quite a few years. And we ended up splitting up, me and this guy, and he sort of went his way and I went mine. And then I met another guy, which it only lasted like a few months, but I ended up homeless because of him. He was like, oh, move into my house with me. You know, everything's gonna be fine. We'll consolidate bills. So I moved in with this guy, and sort of within like 8 months of me moving in, he'd like signed his house, so like everything over into my name. And so I moved in with this guy, and within 8 months, he sort of signed my name onto his tenancy and whatever else. And I then later found out it was so he could drop all his debt on me.
Oh.
So that was, oh mate, it was crazy.
Yeah, back to drug dealing I go.
Oh well, I'd like to have said I did do that, but no. What did happen was I ended up just doing coke all the time. I mean, like, I had nowhere to go. My mum lives in Canada. My mum lives in Canada. My brothers and sisters like live miles up, you know, the country. I had absolutely nowhere to go. So for the first week, I sort of slept on a couple of benches. Now, by this time, my daughter had just finished her GCSEs, and she asked if she could move in with her dad. She still had no idea I'd done drugs.
And okay, so I'm oblivious. Is that high school equivalent to high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she'd just finished high school.
Okay.
And she was like, "Can I spend a year at my dad's before I go to university?" She ended up going to university, and I was like, "Yeah, of course you can."
You were sleeping on benches. You said you were sleeping on benches.
I slept on some park benches for the first week because I was so proud, and so I didn't want anyone to know, and I damn sure didn't want my daughter to think that I was a homeless bum and I was doing drugs. You know, like,
was that the scariest point of your life then? Because it's got to be terrifying to just be like thinking I've got to sleep here and wake up here, and then maybe pop. Say my daughter wanted to see me.
I was only scared. This is the really bizarre thing. I was only scared of people finding out.
Yeah, but that's
it was mad.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
that's one of those you wouldn't want to be your friend that just say I've literally got nothing again, and that friend says, "Well, you had nothing before, and you dealt with that," and hang up, and you'd think, "Well,
no, they do that though. That's the thing. They do
that's
do
what
that.
I mean. Yeah, they shut you down.
Yeah. Right.
Crazy.
So I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it again to myself. I was so ashamed that I'd let myself get to that point again. You know, like, and so I did some drugs, and I ended up. I just met this really fucking random guy. We just became really good friends. But how I find these people, I don't know. I gravitate, or they gravitate towards me. And he was like quite a big seller in the city of cocaine. How do I find these people? Yeah. So I ended up sort of dossing about with him for a few weeks, and I'd moved in with a girlfriend, but I couldn't be there in the days like when her and her kid were there and whatever. It was just too much for my brain. So I'd ring him up and I'd just go hang out with him. I'd get absolutely smashed, and then he'd give me free cocaine. How I used to wangle this, I have no idea, because I didn't sleep with him. It's bizarre. I never slept with him or anything like that. I wasn't paying for it in any way.
But as your
energy,
you're petite, you're bubbly, that's the energy. You know, that's what they're probably used to, these little drongos that don't do nothing and can't be bothered. And you think, oh, you're doing me head in, mate. But when you got someone like you, bubbly, come on, let's go do this. That's more excitement for them.
I was always trying to be upbeat about everything as well. You know, constantly like, life's great, life's fine, could be worse, I could be dead. Do you know what I mean? Always like that. I've always been like that.
Well, it was like you were so proud because you left that abusive relationship. You did.
You're strong.
You had this beautiful house that you remodeled because you had all this income coming in. Then you lost that, got with this guy, and now here you are on a park bench, and you're like, nobody is gonna know this.
No one's knowing this time. We are not telling anyone this time.
Then they always say, oh, you got to hit rock bottom. But you would think living on a park bench was your rock bottom. But it was obviously it wasn't.
It just wasn't. It was really strange. It was. I suppose it was rock bottom though, in a sense. But I ended up, like I say, moving in with a girlfriend and like just hanging out with this random guy. And then I was walking down the road, and I walked past this like a really expensive estate agents, and in the window it had an advert for, do you want to make £800 to £2,000 every 2 weeks? And I was like, yes. Of course I do.
I could do that in 3 days.
I was like, see, this, I'm surely.
He said legally.
It was legally. But so I ended up applying for this care job because I've always looked after people, and I do care work and whatever else, and I've been doing it since I was 16. So the only thing that they wanted was people with 3+ years experience doing care work. And I ended up landing this amazing job. Like, and I was making £2,000 every 2 weeks. Like, but that was when I first had my first, I'm not doing drugs anymore because I'm looking after other people. I can't risk this in any which way, shape or form. And I did have a fucking incredible 3.5 years. Like, I traveled all over Britain, living in these really big posh houses, and like was given money to go buy food while I'm there. So I didn't spend anything I made. So everything was just being banked, constantly banked. You know, so I ended up paying off all the debt that I'd been left in, every single bit of it, gone, completely clear.
Yeah.
And then I met someone else. Then I met somebody else that I thought was completely sober and had their head screwed on. And it quickly transpired one night. It quickly transpired. God, I'm going to kill that dog.
Oh, so funny. That was so quick.
And it quickly transpired that, you know, he didn't have his head as screwed on as I thought he had. And he was like, oh, can you get me some Coke? I'm like, yeah, I can. You know, not really thinking about it. Yeah, I can get you Coke. So, and then I did some Coke with him.
This is the
After
this is
3.5
the
years.
cocaine. Yeah.
After 3.5 years.
And
And
then
as soon as
you
I
leave your job.
And well, I was still doing my job, but the thing is, with my job, it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So if I, you know, that dog is literally barking at nothing. I literally sort of like, as soon as I had that 2 weeks off, once that situation had happened, I was like, oh, it'll be all right. I've got it under control. I won't do drugs when I'm going to go to work. So that doesn't matter. I never clucked for drugs. I never sat there thinking, oh, I want some drugs. I want some drugs.
Yeah.
That was weird. It was weird.
And that's one of those.
So,
that's one of those drugs that if somebody if you went for a meal and then you went to a pub after, you wouldn't think about it. But as soon as you saw somebody you associate yourself with, they come in for a beer and say, oh, I've got some new stuff. Your brain goes, I need to try that. I need to try that. I need to just know what that is. Even though we don't really want it, you just need to try that new.
Yeah.
When I was selling it, I literally used to make out to everybody, oh, I got some from up north this time because all the other shit around there was crap. And everyone's like, did you? I was like, that was the same shit. But I'll go, oh, it's the bollocks. I'll go, that's the same
no,
shit.
it's all up here. It's all up here. Yeah, it's all up there. So like, yeah, that happened. And I ended up, you know, every time I came home, admittedly, my addiction had gone from like having to do anything up to 6 grams in a fucking night. How I'm still alive, I don't know. But anything, I literally got to the point where I was only doing like a half G.
Yeah.
But I still shouldn't have been doing it at all. Do you know what I mean? But I would do it the minute I got home, so that then I wouldn't do any more, and I could definitely be clear for a drug test if I was going to get drug tested by the time I went back to work again.
Well, that's still some good willpower, because you think if you had 2 weeks off and your fella was into drugs, you're lucky you didn't just get stuck for 2 weeks, just getting bang on it. So the very last day and think, oh, I've got to stop because I've got work tomorrow. I better stop Sunday morning.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the bedroom because he's pissing me off.
Wow.
So I sorry, right, we're here. So yeah, I ended up sort of doing that instead, and thought, you know, oh, that's okay. I've got a hold on it. And then I also then met my new partner and thought that he had his head screwed on, and he was like he faked it completely as well, and was like, you know, oh, I don't do any drugs. I'm a good guy. And no, he did drugs too.
Yeah.
And,
maybe he should have
looked
for a guy in the next town over.
Yo, I did. That's what made it worse. He wasn't even from where I was from. I don't know how I do this. Okay, I don't. That sort of ended up happening. But I had sort of control of it quite quickly, and you know, within the first sort of year into that, I said I immediately just went, no, I'm not doing this anymore. You can do whatever you want, but I'm not doing it. And that was like, that was now a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't touched anything since.
For a year and a half.
Year and a half. I've been around it. I've been offered it. I'm glad to sort of say the people that I'm around now, they don't do it at all.
Yeah, won't put you in that situation.
What?
Yeah, whatsoever. So
I'm struggling.
He's plugging his phone in.
I can't even get on.
So Zarah, so the gentleman you're with now, he was once a coke addict, but now he's not? Or?
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. Yeah. So
Yeah, he
yeah.
seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's got his head screwed on. He does his thing, you know. So I mean, it's up to. But he was never like. He definitely was nothing like, you know, myself and Sonny in any which way. Just a recreational user, you know. So, but like, so it was very easy for him to go, oh, okay, I won't do it. You know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, that's fine. He
Yeah,
that
but
really didn't bother him at all.
like ever since what happened to me, I've literally, it's been nearly 6 years now. I haven't done a line ever, just since my kids were born, and I've just put that forward, like to say, like I can go out with the lads and I can do what they want. And even one of the lads I was out with, the last time I was in the city, was quite a long time ago. I don't really go out anymore. He kept praising me, and because he was off his nut, I was looking and thinking, did I used to be like that? That's that annoying geezer just chatting.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you
rubbish.
did.
And I was like, oh my god, because I'm like the chattiest person ever when I'm out just having a drink. But as soon as I'd done that, I'd shut
Can't
up.
talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely
And
shut
everybody
down.
goes, are you all right? And I'd
What's
go,
wrong
yeah,
with
I'm all
you?
right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'd always have parties at mine, fancy dress, and I'd have to do MDMA to come out with myself, because I'm sitting in the corner, I can't talk. I'm in my own party, everybody's here, and I'm just feeding everybody, keeping everybody off their head, and then I'd have to change the drug to keep going. But again, that's just,
It's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just stupid. You get surrounded by
It
people
is stupid.
that are only there for the party.
I've never obviously done cocaine or anything or drugs, but I mean, I used to party, drink heavily, you know, get on the tables and dance and everything. And then I lost my sister to an addiction.
Yeah, you don't need drugs. I've chatted to you for so long. You do not need drugs.
I lost my sister years ago to an addiction, and I just was like, I don't need this, you know. And thank you.
Is Lisa, is there any at one point when you lost your sister to addiction, did you ever think what was so good about it that you thought about trying it?
No.
Like you say, like some people go to say, well, if that's what they were into, I would need to know why and where they went while they were doing it.
I was so the opposite, because I saw what it did to my family. I saw what it did to her husband, her children, and I was so just angry. And so I completely went the opposite direction. And I was like, alcohol's the devil, pills are the devil. Like I was like, there's no way. And I used to sit and beg her. And, you know, now I look back about the lying and all that, where
the lie, it makes you just bullshit everybody.
Oh my gosh. And I look back and I'm just like, how I did. Yeah. And I don't live where she lived and my parents lived and everything. And then I would go to town or back to my hometown and I would see her and I'm like, how are you guys not seeing this? You know, and it wasn't until I took my mom and dad to a like an Al-Anon. So it was a group meeting for families struggling with addicts as a child, or, you know, in your family. And that's when my parents were like, wow, she does have an addiction.
Yeah.
And so I was anti. And so to this day, I don't like, I'll have a fizzy drink with like that has alcohol, but I don't really get drunk anymore or anything, because then I now see like my husband, his friends. I'm like, oh my God, was I like that?
Was I that much of an asshole?
Yeah. You want to see her drink cabinet. You think, how does she not drink?
Yeah. And I'm like, they're gonna drive me to drink, I feel like. And we live in such a small town that we don't have Uber, we don't have any public transportation. So I'm always the designated driver, and I'm like,
We need to start charging.
Yeah.
You need to be the new Uber for your
exactly.
For your
At least
nights
I should
out.
get paid. So, but yeah, I went the opposite way and just saw the damage it did and was just like, no way in hell, you know.
But it takes some strength to go that way. It does take some strength to go that way, but there's always somebody in the family who's got to be that strength, isn't there? Because everyone else can crumble.
Well, and
That's
so I
how-
think it's about your personalities too. Like, I don't have an addictive personality, maybe to shopping, but not anything.
That's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
but yeah, so I just, I never really wanted to try it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But
Thank
going
God
back
for
to
that.
Zara, going back to Zara, so you got to see it like there's so many ways you could have collapsed and you could have failed and give up and done that, but you got that strength in you to go, yeah, this isn't the end. I can still do more, and this is, but so many people in your
Yeah.
situation would have ran out that door from him and probably maybe even gone back there just because they don't want to do it on their own, and then you've gone through all that and then ended up on a bench and still got up and got to that next step.
The thing is, though, Sonny, sort of, I've come from a family of addicts. My father was a smackhead, and he, just a little enlightenment to that. He used to put smack in my food when I was a small child, and I ended up going through cold turkey at the age of 11. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. So
Lisa, do you know what smack is, by the way?
No.
I was heroin. Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
I was thinking Lisa doesn't know what smack is.
It was very bad. It was a really bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was so
Abuse.
bad. I know, I'm aware. But I've come from a lot of addicts, and the really sick thing, though, I've found is because I have been able to say no and stop and whatever else is, they don't pat you on the back. They go, "Oh, look at you, think you're special."
Yeah, think you're
So
special.
yeah. So I literally have had to go. It's always had to be on my own. So if I can't get over something on my own, then I'm never going to get over anything, if that makes sense. So I think that's what gave me the strength to be able to go, no, I can do this, and fuck what any of you lot think. Do you know what I mean? But that is in every single situation in my life. Unfortunately, but unfortunately at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. It's not. And my mum sold drugs with us in the house. I think that's where I got the do not do drugs with your kids in the house from. It's ingrained in me. I mean, I literally, our house was being turned over one night by the police, and I was in theatre school at the time, and I had to take the drugs in my underwear out of the house past the police to the fucking performance I was doing that night. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is what I've come from. I should, in society's eyes, be an absolute mess, definitely not be where I am today. I should really... I should be that little smackhead heroin addict girl that sells her body to get what she wants. But all those situations have led me to how I am today.
Your daughter, because you didn't want her to grow up how you grew up. And that's great. And now to this day, does your daughter know what?
I sat her down and I told her everything. I don't want my daughter to, ever not. She was just too young at that point. Once she'd finished school and whatever, we actually had my first ever full conversation when I was picking her up from university last year, to come home, and she was explaining how her friends do drugs and whatever else. And I said, listen, not everybody that does drugs is a bad person, okay? And I'm going to tell you a story, because the drive from Winchester to Norfolk is a very long drive. So, so she got 3 hours solid of me explaining to her that, don't judge everyone. Don't ever judge. Just be there. But don't ever put yourself in a situation where you feel like you have to do it. But, she tells me everything. I tell her everything. But only now she's of an age where she can understand that. If I'd have told her about them things too soon, that could have affected her in a completely opposite way. She could have gone, oh, my mum's done it and she's all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is a very the drug world, the addiction world. It's a fucking bizarre place. It's a cylindrical nightmare. It really is. It does feel like there's no way out, but I think the biggest feat is to be able to talk about it at the end and go, no, that's what I did, and this is how I've come through it, and this is where I am now. And no, I will never ever touch drugs ever again. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, this is-
Don't come
Good
near
on
me.
you, yeah.
And this is why you have to avoid them people that don't understand that, who will keep niggling and saying, come on, let's just do it, or plonk something in your drink and completely fuck you again. So you have to just, like you've done,
you just don't
away.
go.
I moved away.
Don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
Well,
I moved away.
you would
Cut everybody's phone numbers off. Sorry, Lisa.
No, you had said this to Emily, and I have it highlighted because I think it's amazing, because I feel exactly this way. And you said, I'm happy to be open and honest about everything. I think we need to start normalizing truthfulness. No point if sharing if you're only going to tell half the truth.
There's no point.
There is no point. And you know, when my sister passed away, I didn't want my parents to know what the autopsy was, because they thought she had a massive heart attack at their house on their sofa. I didn't want people to know, because I felt, well, they're going to judge my sister, and I don't want my sister judged. And then this all came to fruition, and I said, you know, this is something that needs to be told, because there's other people that this can help. So that's when I said, you know what, if it helps one person, just one person, I'm going to tell my sister's story. I'm going to let other people tell our stories. And I am so thankful you are here with us and able to tell us your story, because you are truly a lucky one. You're an inspiration that you were down. I mean, you were in the rabbit hole and you are now out of it. And bravo to you. And
Thank you.
I just think it's amazing that you were able to get out of that.
Get away from all those situations, not just that one, every single one.
All of them, all of them. We have here where we live, we have a place called the Peace House, and it's for battered women and children. And we had the annual luncheon a few weeks ago, and they were saying a story about a woman that was beaten by her husband, and most abusers hold the women hostage. And when you were saying he wouldn't let me out, I couldn't do this, I had no friends, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what this woman had said. And he had shot her in each of her legs.
Oh, believe me, if he had a gun, he'd have done it.
Yeah, he pistol whipped her. She lost her eye, and she was at this luncheon, and my heart broke for her. And I just can't even imagine, you know, I'm like, how, you know, she was lucky enough to escape as well. And there's so many that just don't.
That's just the mindfulness. And they literally, like, I've heard stories and stuff, and that's just, I guess, that they could completely degrade you to the point where you start trying to believe what they say is possibly true.
You do. Yes,
because
you
just feel like absolute shit. And like you say, if you then called your friend and they said, no, you dropped me ages ago, and they hang up, and then you just think he is right.
Oh, he's right. No, this is why they do that to you like that. Because when you do ring your friends and they say, you know, oh, well, and I'm not there for you because you weren't there for me. And you do, then you go, oh my God, he's right. He's completely right. And I was so young when I met him as well. You know, I was like 21, nearly 22. You know, and I met him in not like every single guy I've ever gone out with is from different towns, funnily enough. And he was from Nottingham.
You got the red flag of every town.
I literally, if there could be a box on the side of the road labeled red flags with red flags in it, I'm gonna fucking date it for 6 months.
You get one in each hand.
Every single time. Like, look at this.
Yeah.
I can change this to blue.
Is he still in prison? Do you know?
No. So there's various things I found out about him, but he was caught sending very inappropriate messages to a 14-year-old. So we'll leave that there.
Yeah.
And
So he was doing the school run.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said he was doing the school run.
My God.
But, right, guys, I think I'm going to have to wrap this up. My dog's
Yeah, well,
going
okay. So I
absolutely
just want to
wild.
say this because I always end with a quote. And I know you guys probably aren't into country over there in the UK. I don't know.
No, we are.
I'm staring at a field.
I don't know if you know this new up and coming. His name is Jelly Roll, and he's been in and out of prison his whole life. And I just watched his documentary the other day, and this is what he said about being in rehab and addiction. It said, "You got to find the something that means more to you than wait." Let me start that over. You've got to find something that means more to you than you. Believe that there's something out there that can help us. And
Definitely.
you are definitely going to help somebody with this story. And I thank you, Zarah, and well done. We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
No, thanks for having. To be honest, I think I needed this in my life anyway. It's almost like being able to close the book now and go, you have done it. You really have, and now you've been honest about it too.
Good
So
for you.
thank you.
Yes,
thank
you.
I bet if you listen to
like
this
us
yourself,
on 3Ps podcast on Instagram, YouTube, everything. Thank you,
is there a
Zarah.
link? I don't know.